How to Improve Your English, a Story of Love, Struggle, and Triumph. What would you do if the love of your life spoke a language you couldn't understand? This is the story of Leonardo, a young dreamer from a small village, who overcame every obstacle to win the heart of a princess by learning the language of her world. His journey is your guide to improving English through powerful lessons and real experiences. Ready to improve your English? Follow Leonardo's steps and turn your dreams into reality. Share this story with someone who's learning English, and let's inspire the world to never give up. Chapter 1. The King's Kingdom and the Language Barrier. The village of Elmsworth was ruled by a powerful yet just king. Its beauty lay in the vibrant markets and lush green landscapes. The royal court spoke English, a symbol of status and prestige. Villagers often communicated in their native tongues, creating a divide. In this world lived Leonardo, a hard-working farmer of Latin descent. Leonardo loved his simple life, but he dreamed of something greater. He believed in kindness, hard work, and the power of true love. Leonardo's life changed the day he saw Princess Amelia. She was walking in the marketplace, radiant like the morning sun. Her smile could brighten the darkest of days with its warmth. Leonardo was captivated, unable to take his eyes off her presence. But his joy turned to panic when she spoke to him. She asked a simple question, but he couldn't understand her words. Amelia laughed politely and moved on, leaving Leonardo in silence. Leonardo felt an ache he had never experienced before in his heart. He realized he couldn't win her love without learning her language. English was the key to reaching her, yet it felt unreachable. His friends teased him for dreaming of a love beyond his status. But Leonardo was determined. He would not let language stop him. He started practicing with phrases he overheard from the town's traders. Good morning, how are you? And thank you became his mantras. Every evening, Leonardo practiced under the moonlight after a long day. He repeated words until they rolled naturally off his tongue. But the more he practiced, the more mistakes he realized he made. Villagers laughed when he mispronounced or used words in the wrong way. This only strengthened his resolve to prove them wrong one day. Leonardo knew that persistence was his only weapon in this battle. His heart kept reminding him of Amelia's smile, his ultimate motivation. One day, Leonardo overheard a trader teaching his child basic English. He stayed hidden, listening intently to every word and sentence shared. The trader used simple phrases, explaining meanings with gestures and drawings. Inspired, Leonardo began teaching himself by mimicking this same approach. He would point to objects, name them, and repeat until confident. With each passing day, his understanding of English improved little by little. Yet, he knew this was only the beginning of a long journey. The king soon announced a festival to celebrate the kingdom's prosperity. It was an event where villagers could showcase their talents and dreams. Leonardo saw this as a chance to impress Princess Amelia. He imagined speaking to her fluently and sharing his feelings honestly. But his broken English wasn't enough to communicate with confidence yet. He practiced harder, memorizing phrases he could use at the festival. I am Leonardo. I want to be your friend. became his focus. As the festival drew near, Leonardo faced moments of self-doubt. Could he really learn enough to make a meaningful impression? He remembered the laughter of villagers and how they underestimated him. Their mockery fueled his determination to keep going despite the challenges. He imagined Amelia's face, her kindness, and her understanding heart. This vision kept him going when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him. Leonardo promised himself he would speak, no matter how imperfectly. The first chapter of Leonardo's journey was marked by both struggle and hope. He understood that language was not just a tool but a bridge. Each word he learned brought him closer to Amelia and his dream. Though the path was long, Leonardo embraced every moment of it. This was the beginning of a love story shaped by resilience, and a lesson for all that determination makes impossible dreams achievable. Chapter 2: The Village of Challenges. The announcement of the royal festival brought excitement and tension to Elmsworth. Villagers prepared their finest crafts, performances, and ideas to present to the king. For Leonardo, this was more than a celebration. It was his chance. He wanted to impress Princess Amelia with his efforts and determination. But the thought of speaking English in front of a crowd terrified him. His words were still broken, and his accent often made them unclear. The fear of failure loomed, but his desire to succeed was stronger. Leonardo sought help from anyone willing to teach him English basics. Some traders laughed at his request, calling it an impossible dream. Others gave him small phrases, but they weren't enough for fluency. Frustrated but undeterred, Leonardo spent hours observing and listening to conversations. He watched how words were paired with gestures to convey meaning. At night, he practiced these phrases aloud until his voice grew hoarse. Though progress was slow, he felt a spark of improvement within himself. The villagers, however, were not always kind to Leonardo's efforts. Children mocked his mispronunciations, mimicking him in exaggerated and cruel ways. Adults whispered behind his back, doubting his ability to learn English. "You're just a farmer," they said, dismissing his ambitions as foolish. But Leonardo knew that giving up would mean losing Amelia forever. He used their criticism as fuel to push himself even harder. Their laughter only deepened his resolve to prove them all wrong. One day, Leonardo overheard a traveling musician singing in simple English. The lyrics were repetitive and easy to follow, like a children's rhyme. Leonardo realized that music could help him memorize and practice words. He began to sing along, first quietly, then with growing confidence. The melody made the words stick in his mind like never before. Through music, Leonardo found a new and enjoyable way to learn. This method became his daily routine, turning struggle into a joyful habit. As a festival approached, Leonardo practiced speaking to strangers in the market. He greeted them with phrases like, "Good morning," and "How are you?" Many ignored him, while others replied with confused expressions or laughter. Each rejection stung, but every attempt helped him refine his skills. Slowly, he started to recognize common responses and their meanings. The conversations were short, but they gave him a sense of progress. He began to believe that his hard work might truly pay off. Leonardo also devised creative exercises to improve his English-speaking fluency. He labeled objects in his small house with their English names. Every time he used an item, he said its name aloud. He practiced forming sentences by combining these words in meaningful ways. For example, "I eat bread" became a daily mantra during meals. These small exercises helped him build confidence and familiarity with the language. The walls of his house became his classroom, and he its only student. Despite his progress, Leonardo's insecurities often got the better of him. "What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself?" he thought. His fear of humiliation was as strong as his desire to succeed. To combat these doubts, he reminded himself of Amelia's kind nature. Even if his English was imperfect, he knew she would appreciate his effort. He focused on his goal, using love as a source of strength. This mindset kept him going when exhaustion and fear tried to take over. Finally, the day of the festival arrived, bringing a mix of emotions. The marketplace buzzed with excitement as villagers showcased their talents and goods. Leonardo stood in the crowd, clutching a small gift for Amelia. He rehearsed his introduction over and over in his mind. "I am Leonardo. I want to know you better," he whispered. The words were simple, yet they carried all his hopes and dreams. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to face his challenge. The village of challenges had tested Leonardo's determination and resilience. Every obstacle had pushed him to grow stronger and more resourceful. Though his journey was far from over, he had already come so far. The festival was not just a test of language, but of courage. Leonardo stood on the brink of a new chapter, ready to speak. His heart raced, but his resolve was unshakable. This was his moment. He was no longer just a farmer. He was a dreamer in action. Chapter 3. Discovering Free Resources in the Hidden Library. Leonardo's determination to learn English burned brighter after the festival. Though his attempt was brave, he realized his skills needed improvement. He craved a structured way to learn, but resources were scarce. In the village, English books and materials were treasures few possessed. One evening, he sat by the stream, reflecting on his struggles. "I need a guide," he whispered, staring at the water's reflection. Little did he know, destiny was about to answer his plea. The next morning, an old scholar arrived in the village square. He carried a cart filled with ancient scrolls and dusty tomes. Leonardo approached him cautiously, intrigued by the book's mysterious allure. "Do you have anything to teach English?" Leonardo asked with hope. The scholar smiled, his eyes twinkling with understanding and wisdom. He directed Leonardo to a forgotten library hidden beyond the forest. This library holds treasures for those with the courage to seek them. Leonardo ventured into the dense forest, guided by the scholar's words. The journey was long, the trees casting shadows over his path. Each step was filled with both anticipation and a tinge of fear. Finally, he arrived at a small, weathered building covered in ivy. The library's wooden door creaked open, revealing shelves stacked with dusty books. Leonardo felt a surge of excitement as he scanned the titles. He had discovered a treasure trove of knowledge, waiting to be unlocked. Among the books, Leonardo found one titled The Basics of English. The pages were filled with simple phrases, grammar rules, and illustrations. It explained concepts in a way even beginners like him could understand. Leonardo sat on the floor, devouring every word with focused determination. The library became his sanctuary, a place of learning and self-discovery. For hours, he practiced aloud, forming sentences and repeating them until perfect. With each lesson, the language began to feel less foreign and intimidating. The library also housed scrolls with vocabulary lists and pronunciation tips. Leonardo wrote these down, creating flashcards to review during his farm work. He carried these flashcards in his pocket, studying whenever he had time. Words like hope, dream, and love resonated deeply with his mission. He practiced using these words in sentences about his life and goals. Over time, his vocabulary expanded, and his confidence grew with each practice. Leonardo could now greet strangers and hold brief conversations without fear. One day, Leonardo discovered an old device called a phonograph. It played recordings of English sentences spoken in clear, slow tones. Leonardo mimicked the recordings, repeating phrases until his pronunciation improved drastically. The phonograph became his teacher, correcting his mistakes without judgment or ridicule. He listened to greetings, questions, and expressions of emotion, learning their nuances. This practice helped him understand the rhythm and flow of spoken English. Leonardo began to sound less like a beginner and more like a speaker. The library also introduced Leonardo to a new concept: free resources. One scroll mentioned tools available to anyone with determination and creativity. For example, listening to others' conversations could improve comprehension over time. Leonardo began observing villagers who spoke English fluently in the marketplace. He noted their word choices, gestures, and how they structured sentences. Each observation became a lesson, sharpening his ability to learn independently. The world itself had become his classroom, filled with endless opportunities to grow. The scholar returned to check on Leonardo's progress several weeks later. He was amazed at how much Leonardo had learned in a short time. "You've unlocked the secret," the scholar said, his voice filled with pride. "The greatest resource is your determination and willingness to learn everywhere." Leonardo thanked the scholar, realizing the truth in those simple words. He had turned obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into valuable lessons. The hidden library had given him tools, but his persistence had fueled success. As he left the library, Leonardo carried more than just books. He carried newfound confidence, knowing he was closer to his ultimate goal. Every word he learned brought him closer to communicating with Princess Amelia. Though challenges remained, Leonardo felt prepared to face them head-on with courage. The hidden library had not only taught him English, but also resilience. Leonardo returned to the village, ready to practice and apply his knowledge. This chapter of his journey proved that resources, though free, can be priceless. Chapter 4: Immersion in the Royal Court. Leonardo's journey to learn English took a bold and unexpected turn. The royal court was hosting new laborers, and he saw an opportunity. He decided to apply for a position in the palace kitchen. Though the work was demanding, it meant constant exposure to spoken English. Leonardo believed immersion would accelerate his progress, despite the challenges he might face. If I surround myself with English, I'll learn faster, he thought. With determination in his heart, he stepped into the world of royalty. The palace kitchen was a whirlwind of activity and loud conversations. Orders were shouted in English, and recipes were discussed with precision. At first, Leonardo felt overwhelmed by the fast pace of communication. He struggled to understand even simple instructions, leading to frequent mistakes. But each mistake became a lesson, and each day brought improvement. Leonardo listened intently, noting phrases and repeating them quietly to himself. The kitchen became both his workplace and his classroom of spoken English. Leonardo found an unexpected ally in a kind servant named William. William noticed Leonardo's efforts and began teaching him practical English phrases. Pass the bread, stir the pot, and watch the fire were lessons. These simple instructions became stepping stones for Leonardo's growing confidence in English. William also corrected Leonardo's pronunciation, helping him sound more natural over time. Their friendship grew, and William's support became invaluable in Leonardo's journey. With William's guidance, Leonardo started speaking more clearly and fluently every day. Immersion extended beyond the kitchen to the bustling corridors of the palace. Leonardo observed how the guards greeted each other and spoke with guests. He noted the polite tone used when addressing members of the royal family. Phrases like "Good evening, Your Grace," and "May I assist you?" stood out. Leonardo practiced these sentences, imagining himself speaking to Princess Amelia one day. Each interaction, no matter how brief, became an opportunity to refine his skills. Through observation and practice, Leonardo began to understand the nuances of formal English. The immersion also brought unexpected challenges that tested Leonardo's patience and resilience. Some palace workers mocked his accent, mimicking his efforts to speak English. Their laughter stung, but Leonardo refused to let it deter his progress. He reminded himself that every great journey faced obstacles along the way. Instead of dwelling on negativity, he focused on improving through consistent practice. The more he practiced, the less the mockery affected him over time. Leonardo's resilience turned criticism into motivation, pushing him closer to his goal. One day, the king announced a royal feast to celebrate his reign. Leonardo's role was to assist the head chef in preparing elaborate dishes. This required constant communication in English, testing his skills under pressure. At first, he stumbled over words, struggling to convey his thoughts clearly. But as the hours passed, his confidence grew with every successful sentence. By the end of the day, he was speaking more fluently than ever. The feast became a turning point, proving how far Leonardo had come. Beyond language, immersion taught Leonardo the culture and customs of the court. He learned to bow respectfully, address nobles, and navigate royal etiquette gracefully. Understanding these subtleties gave him the confidence to interact beyond the kitchen. One evening, he was tasked with serving at the royal family's dinner. Nervous but determined, he carefully carried dishes while listening to their conversations. Though he didn't speak, he absorbed every word, enriching his understanding of English. This moment reminded him of how close he was to achieving his dream. Princess Amelia began noticing Leonardo's presence and his efforts to communicate. She often saw him practicing English with William or reading in corners. Her curiosity grew, and she decided to test his progress one day. "Good morning, Leonardo," she said softly, her voice filled with kindness. Leonardo froze, then replied with a slightly hesitant, "Good morning, Princess Amelia." It was a small exchange, but it marked a monumental step forward. Amelia's encouragement gave Leonardo renewed hope and fueled his determination to improve. Immersion in the royal court transformed Leonardo's approach to learning English. He no longer feared mistakes, but embraced them as opportunities for growth. Every day spent in the palace was a step closer to fluency. Leonardo's hard work and resilience turned challenges into valuable learning experiences. Though he had not yet reached his ultimate goal, he was confident. The palace, once an intimidating place, had become his school of life. This chapter of his journey showed that immersion could bridge any barrier. Chapter 5. Winning the Heart of a Princess. The royal feast was over, but Leonardo's journey had just begun. He had worked tirelessly, learning English through every challenge and mistake. The king announced a new event, the Royal Speech Contest for Unity. Participants were to present ideas to improve the kingdom, spoken entirely in English. This was Leonardo's golden opportunity to prove himself and win Amelia's heart. The challenge was daunting, but his determination overshadowed his fears. He spent nights preparing, practicing phrases, and perfecting his speech delivery. Leonardo's speech centered on the power of love and unity. He crafted simple but heartfelt sentences that conveyed his sincerity and vision. "The heart speaks a universal language," he wrote, repeating it to himself. He practiced in front of mirrors, imagining the king and Amelia listening. Every word carried his passion, hope, and the essence of his journey. Though nervous, he trusted the skills he had honed through perseverance. This contest was not just about winning, it was about being heard. The day of the contest arrived, and the palace was abuzz with excitement. Nobles, villagers, and the royal family gathered in the grand hall. Contestants stood nervously, each waiting their turn to address the audience. Leonardo took a deep breath, clutching his notes with trembling hands. He reminded himself of Amelia's smile, the driving force behind his efforts. When his name was called, he stepped forward with a mixture of emotions. His heart raced, but his resolve to succeed was unshakable. Leonardo began his speech with a greeting that caught everyone's attention. "Good afternoon, Your Majesty, Princess Amelia, and the honorable people of Elmsworth." His voice wavered slightly, but he pushed forward with growing confidence. "I am Leonardo, a farmer who has learned the value of unity." He spoke of the challenges he faced, learning English in a foreign world. Each sentence resonated with the audience, connecting deeply with their emotions. Even the king leaned forward, intrigued by the humility in Leonardo's words. As Leonardo continued, he shared his dream of a united kingdom, a place where language and differences no longer divide us, he said. He described how love and determination could bridge gaps and inspire change. The audience listened intently, moved by his authenticity and heartfelt delivery. Though his English was not perfect, his passion overshadowed every small flaw. Each word carried the weight of his struggles and his unyielding spirit. For a moment, the grand hall was silent, captivated by Leonardo's message. Princess Amelia watched with admiration as Leonardo poured his heart into his speech. She saw the courage it took for him to stand before them all. His determination to learn her language and connect with her touched her deeply. Amelia smiled softly, realizing how much Leonardo had grown in his journey. She admired not just his efforts, but also his sincerity and kindness. In that moment, she felt a connection that transcended words and language. Amelia clapped first, her applause sparking a wave of cheers from the crowd. The king, impressed by Leonardo's eloquence and vision, stood to address the hall. Leonardo, your words reflect the values this kingdom was built upon, he said. He praised Leonardo's resilience and the lessons his journey had taught everyone. The king declared Leonardo the winner, recognizing both his speech and his character. The audience erupted in applause, celebrating Leonardo's incredible transformation and achievement. Leonardo felt a surge of relief and joy as tears filled his eyes. He bowed humbly, grateful for the chance to share his voice and dreams. After the contest, Amelia approached Leonardo with a warm, genuine smile. Your speech was beautiful, Leonardo. You've worked so hard, she said kindly. Leonardo blushed, his heart pounding as he replied, Thank you, Princess Amelia. For the first time, their conversation flowed naturally, unburdened by language barriers. Amelia admired his courage and invited him to walk with her. As they strolled through the palace gardens, they spoke of their dreams. Their bond grew stronger, built on mutual respect and shared aspirations. Leonardo's journey to learn English was a journey of love and resilience. He had turned challenges into opportunities, proving the power of determination. Through his efforts, he not only mastered a language, but won a heart. The villagers who once doubted him now celebrated his incredible achievement. The palace that once felt foreign became a place where he belonged. And Amelia, the princess who inspired him, became his greatest ally and friend. Together, they looked to the future, united by love and shared dreams. Don't miss our next video, How Learning English Transformed My Life Forever. Did you know that over 1.5 billion people are learning English worldwide? How many truly unlock the life-changing opportunities of mastering a new language? Your comments are welcome, and I'll be reading them all. Subscribe, give a like, and hit the bell to get notified about new high-value content as we continue this immersive journey in learning English together.